microprocessor and the ensuing computer revolution hold the promise of shorter working weeks, more leisure time, and an increasingly affluent society. All this, coupled with cheaper international travel, will allow us to explore our world more fully, seeing that life is rich with the possibilities of enjoyment, from the most basically physical to the cultural, artistic, and creative.
So perhaps one feature of our community of the future will be a centre for human achievement, a building where people can make a choice, where they can be matched by computer with the best outlet for their abilities.
People, millions and millions of people, may disappear from the rat race. Machines will replace so many jobs, the drudgery of daily life may be the struggle to find things to do.
The gears of modern progress hum along, producing necessities, luxuries, and conveniences for modern man. The practical individual today is geared for facts and results. Nevertheless, the 21st century readily accepts theories of all kinds, provided they are presented in the language of science. Quite frequently, scientific theories call into question our basic assumptions about the nature of reality. Yet secular science is received with awe and reverence in the 21st century. So why this ready acceptance of reality-altering theories? Probably because we've come to enjoy the conveniences and luxuries that modern technology has provided. We live in a time when some of our grandparents grew up without electricity and spent many hours of the day simply to prepare food to eat. The Western world has largely freed itself from the struggle for meeting our basic needs for food and shelter. Because of our rapid progress, we have time to ponder trivialities, indulge in mindless entertainments and exotic pleasures. Simply put, we worship science and progress because it delivers security, luxury, and amusement. Everybody nowadays believes in scores of assumptions for which there is good evidence, but no perfect visual proof. And does not science demonstrate that visual proof is the weakest proof? It's being constantly revealed that outward appearances are not inward reality at all. Yet many who are scientifically inclined still choose to believe that our human intelligence is the last word, the alpha and the omega. In light of our ever-expanding reality, this seems quite short-sighted. Yes, I'm headed toward the realm of the spiritual. Before you stop watching, let me tell you, I was once an ardent skeptic myself. Fancying myself a person of reason, I considered Bible believers as rather simple and superstitious. Yet education and all the amazing conveniences we are spoiled with today do not deliver contentment. It was from a profound sense of discontent and an uneasy suspicion that there had to be more to life than what the secular world offers that I began my search. Before we go any further, please consider the words of Herbert Spencer. There is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation.
Now, I myself fell into this trap of contempt prior to investigation. It nearly trapped me into everlasting ignorance. I didn't grow up as a Christian. I suppose I was agnostic, but I became very resentful of the whole notion of religion early on. As a skeptical young man, a major point of contention was what I perceived to be religious hucksterism. See, my younger brother was profoundly deaf as a result of meningitis. I vividly remember watching a charlatan faith healer on television pretending to restore sight to the blind and making the deaf hear. I was a child, but I could tell he was manipulating people and manipulating the audience for donations. I remember I got on the phone, I was probably 8, 9 years old, something like that, and I challenged this snake oil salesman to restore my brother's healing over the telephone. Now, of course, no miraculous healings occurred, but the anger had a long-lasting effect on me. My distrust and resentment of all things associated with God really started there. sad reality is that anger was correct, but the resulting resentment was misplaced. Now, I was too young at the time to discern the differences between genuine, sincere Christians and the frauds. And false religions and scams abound. But if one would at least entertain the notion that there's really a cosmic battle for souls going on, the use of counterfeits would be a logical stratagem of God's enemies. Yet please note, as with money or anything else, the existence of counterfeit does not prove that the genuine article does not exist. Now, the second major stumbling block for me was the creation account. My father was an accomplished mechanical engineer for a major technology corporation. He taught me to think critically from early on. I watched the first lunar landings. I was really into UFOs and space, and all kinds of technology things. This was in the early 70s, late 60s. Like many young boys, I also had a fascination with dinosaurs. Of course, I learned from books in school that dinosaurs were millions of years old. So I thought that this was quite a conundrum for the religious people that were saying the world was 6,000 years old. In fact, one time I asked one of these people about this, a Christian man in my neighborhood, and he told me that Satan put the dinosaur bones there to confuse mankind. Wow. I didn't know anything about why I thought the dinosaurs were old. I didn't know anything about dating methods or any of that, and I was taking that on faith, but Satan putting the bones there sounded a little off base to me too. So I really just kind of laughed the whole thing off. I remember telling my dad about it, and we just decided that Christians must just be sticking their heads in the sand. So after a few brief encounters, I had nothing but contempt for Christianity. And I'd never read a single chapter of the Bible or done any serious investigation of my own. Now, much later in life, after living the life of a professional rock musician and having experienced some serious pain and disappointment as a result of that lifestyle, I was humbled enough to take a second look. Now, I went back to college in my 30s and to study computer science. So I'm taking heavy physics, chemistry, calculus, computer programming courses. I came across a brilliant PhD scientist, a chemistry teacher that was a Christian. That really intrigued me, that such a brilliant scientist could actually take the Bible seriously. I remember having a conversation where I was told, Chris, don't let your opinions about Genesis and origins get in the way of what Jesus Christ did for you on the cross. Now, by putting some of my objections to the side, taking a look at the gospel of salvation, I had a spiritual experience when I invited Jesus Christ into my life. Now, I wouldn't expect anyone else to accept that as evidence. It's a personal thing, but it meant a lot to me, and it always will. It's forever altered my perspective. Now, having examined the gospel of salvation and experienced the relationship with Christ, my understanding of the creation account has come around full circle. I would ask you to set those questions aside and take a look at the case for redemption, and then come back and take a second look at that. There's a lot of brilliant scientists that accept creation. There's a lot of different angles on it. Don't let that get in the way of what Jesus did for you on the cross.
With that in mind, please bear with me as I share with you some very compelling evidence that not only is there a creator God, but that he has truly come to earth in the form of man and revealed himself to mankind through Scripture. I realize for a skeptic that's probably too much to swallow in one bite. I offer this exposition as a point of intrigue, for I believe it is so provocative that if one honestly makes a serious study of what will be presented in this video, one will have no choice but to realize the validity of Christianity. If you are bold and intellectually unfettered enough, I invite you to begin the adventure of a lifetime.